Okay, yeah, like, we can do this in real life, it's easy.
Really? Okay, let's prove it. What makes Spider-Man Spider-Man?
Wait, where'd you get love goes?
Obviously, his web shooters and his spider suit.
Oh, you're here.
Alright, so here we have the typical Spider-Man swinging situation, from which what we want to get is the maximum amount of tension that's going to be exerted on the webs. That'll be at its lowest point right here, and that's where the force of tension will be equal to his mass times 3g's, and that is due to his own inertia and speed during his movement, causing the increase in acceleration pointing downward. Now, if we take Spider-Man's typical weight in the comics, which is around 75 kilograms, we find that the force of tension is going to be equal to 2,205 newtons. And let's say he wants to take someone with him, around the same weight, let's assume. We just multiply the force of tension by 2, and we get 4,410 newtons. We move on to tensile strength, which is the capacity of a material to resist a certain amount of force exerted upon it per cross-sectional area, and that's going to be calculated by here F per unit area of the material itself. So here, the amount of strain or stress that the force of tension is going to put upon the web shooters can also be calculated using this formula, and so the force per unit area is going to be equal to a certain amount of strain. Now, web shooters have a tensile strength of around 1300 megapascals, and by isolating that, we can find the minimum unit area needed for the web shooters to be so they can support that 4,410 newtons, which is going to be around 3.5 millimeters squared. And then to find the volume of web shooters, because the point of all of this is to see how heavy it is and how much it'll carry with him at one point in time. So let's say that he swings off 10-story buildings or whatnot, and those are about 35 meters in height. So the total volume is going to be 35 meters times 3.5 millimeters squared. So that'll end up being equal to 122,500 millimeters cubed. Alright, so let's say that the web fluid has around the same density as spider silk, which is a similar material to webs in real life. So they have a density of around 1.3 grams per centimeter cubed. So if we were to weigh the volume of this, we'd find that it's around 160 grams. So 160 grams per web. And so we find that it's actually pretty reasonable. I'd say like maybe 20, 30 of these, he'd have around 1.5 kilograms of weight on each wrist, around 2 kilograms, and he'd be able to get well across a couple blocks before needing to refuel. And so we see that it's actually pretty possible, and it makes sense.
Another one of Spider-Man's famous abilities is being able to climb on walls. So go from here to here, which is your fingers and your toes. But how? How do geckos and spiders climb up walls, or any surface?
They use something called van der Waals forces, which are tiny but really strong when put together attractions between molecules. And we can't really take that into consideration because Spider-Man wears a suit, and even the thinnest of materials would cancel those van der Waals forces.
As seen in the following video, Stanford have already proven that it is possible to climb on glass using something they've called gecko glove.
So what material could be used?
Attention, due to unexplained and unavoidable circumstances, live audio is no longer available. Not to worry, information can still be conveyed. For instance, let us talk about carbon nanotubes, a good, and mayhaps better, alternative to spider silk, or whatever they were talking about in the previous part. This is a carbon nanotube. Admire its structure. It is made of graphene, a one-atom thick sheet of carbon, arranged in a hexagonal lattice. This makes it very strong, light, and durable, as carbon is very good at bonding with things. It achieves this amazing performance through 3 whole sigma bonds, and a pi bond. The sigma bonds are made using orbital hybridization, in essence combining its s and p orbitals into an sp2 orbital. This makes it very good at bonding with itself. The remaining pi bond, pointing out of the plane, replicates van der Waals forces, the interactions between molecules that make things stick to things. Thus, carbon nanotubes are also good at sticking to other stuff, not just themselves. All this to say that carbon nanotubes are a strong and light material, which can make cables that don't need to be thick, unlike steel, and it is stronger and easier to make than spider silk, making it cool and good. Attention, we have been informed by forces unknown that this section is getting too long. Goodbye, our only friends. We will never forget you.
Is he strong? Listen, bud. He's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead.